Hello, I thought I'd do a little video showing you some of the books that I've used for my Victorian research. So although quite a bit of my research gets done online, I still like to have a book to look at and refer to if I need to. You can see my new fish tank in the background. So here are some of the books. I've sort of put them in piles. So we'll start with some of the kind of fairly fun ones. So we've got You Wouldn't Want to Be a Victorian Servant, A Thankless Job You'd Rather Not Have, and it's got some really interesting little snippets in it. Things like handy hint, be nice to the cook, she's in charge of your lunch. But it's got some quite fun background into what it was like to be a servant in a Victorian home. We've also got 100 Facts of Victorian Britain. Again, these are quite light-hearted, but equally sometimes it's just nice to throw them in. I'm just trying to find something. So that's something about Greek style architecture became popular in Scotland. Gothic was all the rage while Victoria was in power. Again, just some nice little snippets that can be put into books to give them that authentic feel. And then we have Eyewitness Victorians, which again, little snippets about, this is a beautiful one with shows Crystal Palace in it, which opened for the Grand Exhibition, and there's a lot of talk about that. That was in 1851, so that was a little bit earlier from when my books are set, which are slightly later. There's a lot about social reform, information about wars that were going on, and then what was happening towards the end of the era. So again, just quite interesting to get some little snippets from. Then, of course, those of you that have read any of the books will know that we have Sherlock Holmes in the book. Even though he's fictional, I've put him into my books, so he becomes a real character. And this has got most of the Sherlock Holmes books in. So that was very interesting reading. Then we sort of move on to fashion. So we have a whole range of things in here. I won't bore you with all of them, but various different styles over the years. Those were early, some are later. That I think is absolutely beautiful. That was in 1873, so a little bit earlier than when Alice was around, but again, some just really interesting information about different materials and corsets, which of course Alice hates. So that's very useful. Then we move on to more kind of home type things. So we have, this is just some floor plans. I find it quite useful, just the way things were organised in those days, although these homes are quite small in comparison to where Alice lives. But it gives you an idea of the kind of rooms that they would have had in some of the bigger houses. This is a beautiful book, The English Country House, and it's got all sorts of really interesting historical details about various different places, and some of the large country homes, some of which you can still go and visit in the UK. So this is more kind of an inspirational type of book rather than specific houses, but just some very interesting information and good for inspiration for those large houses that I have in my books. A similar book is Life in a Country House, which, as you can see, I paid all of £2 for in the National Trust. This one, you can pick any kind of information. There's information about the East India Company, presentation at court, various different people that were around in various different parts of history, but I found it quite useful for reference. Then this is a fascinating book. This is called The Gentleman's House, and it's basically how to plan your English residence. It's been really useful, again, just when you're talking about when Alice visits various different homes, It's just really good for you know, principal guest suites, the smoking room where they would be in relationship to everything else, probably where the servants' quarters would be, and it's really kind of like a Bible of how to design your home at that particular time. Then we have another quite fun book, which is Mrs. Beeton's Household Management. So again, this is quite interesting. This was done in the kind of 1859, 1860s. So it would have been, and this contains everything from recipes to pickles and sauces. This is Fallen Home open here with pastry cutters, and it's really useful for when talking about food and some of the things that the housekeeper would have done in particular. It's got recipes for beef and vegetables, what the housekeeper does, what the mistress does, arranging the kitchen, and just really good to dip in and out of. And finally, in my kind of library of Victorian books, is London in 1880, and this is quite a good, it's a very odd book. It's like someone's photocopied a book and put them in pages, which is, I guess, fundamentally what they've done, but it does give you an understanding of what it would have looked like in those days. So this is London. Buckingham Palace was a massive estate with all these trees and a park here, and not that much in terms of buildings. So very different to how it is now, where there are loads and loads of buildings. And again, this was Oxford Street. There would have been quite a few big houses on there, and just the beginnings of shops. Yeah, so that's been, again, just very useful reference, just a bit of quick reference. I'll be honest, I haven't read the whole book, but it just, again, just the background. So I try to be authentic with my Victorian books, but not rigid to the point where you wouldn't be able to recognise it, because the reality is most of us know. Sorry, I'm just showing you around my office. I don't know why I'm doing that. My chair is swinging. Most of us are familiar with various different times in history from what we've really seen on television and what we've read in books. So there's no point swamping people with detail, but it's just nice to get those authentic vibes, really. And so to do that, as an author, I've looked at and read big chunks of all of this just to support my writing. I hope that's been useful. Take care.